Morning, students. Is my voice is audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you are able to hear it properly.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
Yes, ma'am.
So let us start with the topics today. So actually the paper, as I was just talking yesterday about the title of the paper, social issues and the policies here. So today we'll start with the first unit. Let us start with what is called, what do we understand by social issue? So let us try to take up the meaning of social issue here. Social issue is a problem that influences a considerable number of individuals within a society. So that means this is not to one particular person or a group of persons, but most of the time you come across like many sections of the communities may be influenced by the problems. Okay. Which is uncontrollable by the individuals, which cannot be controlled by the conditions they are facing in their lives, which cannot be controlled by the individuals. So it is beyond the control, or it is going to be the factors of these issues are going to be extended beyond the individual's control. So where individual cannot have a coping of with the situations or conditions, they cannot mold the conditions towards their own way, the life possibility of easy to go with easy with the situation. This cannot be controlled by the individuals. Okay, I repeat once again. The topic today we are going to start is, we just started with, is social issues. Issue is a problem. Let me start with issue. Social issue is a problem which is influencing the individuals, not one individual or one group of individuals. It can be extended to many different people who are there in the society. Okay. And these issues, when we say it is a problem which is influencing the number of individuals in a society, which actually the consequences, the results of the issues, the results of this particular problem, the factors of that particular problem, which are the causative factors, usually we understand. These causative factors are usually beyond the individual's control. So, for example, now if I'm in if a particular group is in a problem, the group is facing a problem. So the group cannot control those causative factors. They cannot hold the causative factors to stop that particular issue or this problem. So this is where the situation is above. The situation is beyond uncontrolling situation. Then we say that it is a problem. Okay, a social issue or a problem. Like usually when you take up a sociological definition of social issue, okay, the definition says that it refers to undesirable condition that is opposed either by the whole society or by a section of the society. Okay, it is something which says that it is undesirable. See, nobody desires to have a problem in the life of the persons, isn't it? Do we really desire to get some problems or the issues in the life? No. Everybody wants to lead a happy life, isn't it? But issue says that according to sociological definitions, it says that it is referring to undesirable condition that is opposed either by the whole society or by a section of the society. Okay, it is always this undesirable condition will be always opposed. Okay, because we don't welcome any kind of undesirable conditions into the life. So it is opposed by the society or that particular section of the society which is under any kind of issues. Okay, then it is unwanted social condition which is often objectionable and the continuation of which is harmful for the society. We cannot, usually it says that issue says that it is unwanted social condition. We never feel that this condition should be into our life or the community's life. No, it is totally unwanted. Usually this is not necessary for that particular group of people, isn't it? That condition, never the group expects that should be in the group. But which is totally objectionable. We always object with any kind of situation or any kind of issue which is affecting in a negative manner with the group of people. And usually if this issue continues, which is very harmful, we don't want to continue the issue, but if at all, if it is continuing, if any problem is continuing, it is continuously being affected to the people, then usually it is very harmful for the society. So any society, see, usually it is not that these issues or the problems are confined to one particular society or in only few communities here. No, you find almost all the issues, most of the issues are there in world communities here, but then still we say that these objectionable conditions, these unwanted, undesirable conditions may not exist forever. But usually we try to totally evade with all such kind of problems to get rid of all these kinds of problems through working with the system and using the government mechanisms in order to remove all these issues. So when you say that when these particular issues are continuing with the societies, usually which is totally harmful for the society. So we don't want a harmful situation affecting the society. So we want a happy life to lead. Every community want to lead a peaceful and happy life and a satisfactory life, isn't it? So issue means it refers to something which is unwanted, undesirable condition, which is opposed by the society, which is affected with this kind of issues, and unwanted social condition which is objectionable, and if any issue is continuing, that means it is warrant, it is harming, it is alerting that there will be a harmful situation for the society. This is with regard to understanding social issue. Okay, it is actually it is like, if you talk about, if you are confining it to the Indian society, what are the issues we are facing? So what are the issues we usually try to understand here? First of all, India is facing with large number of issues. For example, if you take few issues here, we have the caste system as one of the major important issue. And at the same time, we have the child labor. We also have the illiteracy, and we also have gender inequalities. We also have superstitions, religious conflicting situations we come across, and different many other problems we have, isn't it? So now, what are exactly these undesirable social evils? Let us try to take a few undesirable or few social issues in the Indian system. Usually we try to start with illiteracy. According to the syllabi content, we try to start with the illiteracy as one of the major important issue, which is totally related to different other issues also. See, now, guys, like this is students, like one particular issue, we cannot understand it in an independent manner. It is not an isolated issue, but it is totally related to different other issues here. So one problem, it is giving way to the other, and the other problem giving way to the other issues also. So every problem has some link to the other problem. First of all, let us understand illiteracy. What do we understand by illiteracy? Illiteracy is defined as a state whereby one is unable to read and write. If a person is unable to read a letter, or if a person is unable to write, then that person is considered as illiterate person. So illiteracy in general, we try to make an understanding by saying that group of persons of the whole society, if they cannot read the letters, if they cannot write, then we say that that community is illiterate community. So this is illiteracy. In its simplest form, it is defined as it is a lack of or any sufficient education. If a society, if a community lacks, it is lacking with a sufficient education, then we say it is illiterate community or illiterate society. I repeat once again, illiteracy is defined as a person or a community which is unable to read or write, then that community is graded as, it is termed as illiterate community. That means illiteracy means the literacy, the status where the people are unable to read and write the letters, then you term it as illiteracy. Okay, then, so when there is no sufficient education, then we say it is illiterate community or illiteracy. The state of illiteracy is existing. Illiteracy is also a means of ignorance and lack of knowledge in a specific subject. If, for example, I'm a lettered person, but if I lack knowledge with regard to one particular field, then I term myself as I'm an illiterate person with regard to that particular field. I repeat once again. Illiteracy also means ignorance or lack of knowledge in a specific subject. For example, I'm a literate person, I'm a lettered person, but then still, I may not have knowledge with regard to all the fields, isn't it? I am confined to one particular field or some other field, but not to all the other existing fields. So then, if I lack knowledge or the ignorance with regard to a particular field, then I say that I'm an illiterate person with that field, isn't it? Then again, we come across, now the syllabus has given you one best example, computer. Nowadays, see, usually most of the people, they cannot operate computer. They don't know the usage of the computer, the technicality which is there in the computer, application to the computer. Then the person, though highly educated person also, if they are unable to operate with the computer, then the person is termed as an illiterate person with computer knowledge. This is an example for illiteracy. Okay, now why there is illiteracy? There are different many causative factors for the illiteracy. India is also majorly, dominantly India is illiterate long back, 50 years back now, but now it is improvising with the ratio with regard to what is called the number of persons are now, they are illiterate and educating themselves. So for example, if you take according to 2011 census, literacy rate was found to be 74.04%. But according to compared with the, now we can go with the comparative analysis of the literacy rate with men and women, or the feminine, the women literacy rate and the men literacy rate and children's literacy rate, in also their girls literacy rate and the boys literacy rate. So there is a usually the imbalance with these all kinds of analysis we usually take. But usually in India, we come across men literacy rate is more than comparable to the women literacy rate. So we have different many reasons for this kind of issue here. But what are the causative factors in general for the illiteracy in Indian society? We come across the causes of illiteracy goes in this way. First of all, one is poverty. Wherever you find in a community or a society the poverty system, like poverty status, you find that poverty means a person who is not capable enough, or a person who cannot afford to the fees, or the person who cannot afford to send the children to the school. Then that person, usually the children become illiterate, isn't it? The poverty of the person is making the person not to send the children to the school. This is usually one particular causative factor. But actually we come across, it says that always illiteracy is linked to the poverty system. Okay, now for example, if you take we have in developing countries, for example, in developing countries, you take Indian society, poverty rates are very higher in Indian society. The reason, because we have the agricultural failure system. Usually people are illiterate, they cannot go for the other employment opportunities. So all this is again relating to ourselves, it is a kind of vicious circle. It is relating to the illiteracy. For example, now poverty, a person is very poor, the person always thinks about at least fulfilling the basic requirements, like feeding the family, clothing and shelter. But if the person who is totally in the poverty situation feels that if I am able to feed my family at least 1 meal a day, 2 meals a day, that is more than enough for us, isn't it? So the person have no chances, or they cannot expect the children sending to the school, but instead he may send the children to the some kind of employment or some kind of labor activity, rather than sending the children to the school. So this is one issue we usually relate it to the illiteracy system in the Indian society, the illiteracy issue in the Indian society. Poverty is one major factor, one major causative factor for the illiteracy in India. Then we have gender disparities. So this is usually, traditionally we try to take up this, traditionally we are tracing this gender inequality, the gender disparity. What do we understand by gender disparity? The gender disparity, which is totally usually a minimal in countries with high adult literacy rate, but usually if you take Indian system, we have men are given much priority for the to send to the school, or the boys are sent to the schools and given a good education rather than compared to the girl child. Why? Because they feel that we have that usually the ratio in the book says that the literacy gaps between adult men and women at large are largest in the West Asia and also in South Asia. But usually we find that the gap between the male and the female literacy rate is considerably greater in the countries. Overall, adult literacy rate is very low. So for example, we have different many reasons for the gender disparities usually. As far as Indian situation is concerned, we all know that, you all must be knowing that women are not given that priority for sending the girl child to the school, or for example in the agricultural families, usually in the rural areas, it is like the practice is like the elderly child, the elderly girl has to take care of the whole family and parents attend the agricultural labor work. So the girl is confined to the household work and the girl is to take care of the other younger children in the other younger children in the family. So the girl is totally neglecting with the education. So she will be at the age of 10, 12 and not more than that, isn't it? So such way you find that this is one example I'm quoting here for gender disparities. So usually we come across different other related examples for this gender disparities in the education and the illiteracy aspect. Then we come across age wise. If you take age as a factor, usually you find, now we have only the comparative analysis here. It says that the individuals who are in the age group of 15 to 34 have higher literacy levels than those aged between 45 and the older one. Obviously, why? Because usually after 40-45 years means we are nearing to the what is called the retirement system, but usually they are totally neglected with education. They are least bothered about educating themselves. So we find only few in general. This is the understanding situation of the literacy causative factor age. So usually in between 15 and 34, this group of people are into higher education system. Okay, they have the higher literacy rate. Okay, then we have age disparities are smaller in higher literate countries and larger in the lower literate countries here. Okay, so you find the age disparities are smaller in higher literacy countries, where there you find the developed countries literacy is very high number. There you find age disparity doesn't matter there. We don't find any kind of age disparities, which is very low. But rather, if you compare this to the lower literacy countries, this is very large. In the lower literacy countries like Asian countries, if you take, the age disparity is very wide. Okay, now then we have the geographical disparities. Usually we find that rural residents have lower literacy rate. Usually, as I was talking about the rural areas, usually rural people are not bothered about the literacy. Usually they attend the labor work, they attend their agricultural work and other subsidiary income level. They are bothered with only the concentrating on only in the economic aspect, but usually they neglect with the educating the children or sending the children to the schools, or at least if they are also illiterate, they don't want to take up any literacy. But usually we started with different many programs which really improvised with the situation here. Okay. Now, again, we come across limited resource here. Usually in many poor countries, the social services such as education, and these countries which are burdened with the foreign debt, they cannot open up with the schools and all. So the facilities are not provided to the community people and the children, and this lack of resource is also major important factor in few countries, not all countries. In most of the countries, usually undeveloped countries and also developing countries, this is the major important factor. Lack of resources here, limited resource also is major important causative fact for the literacy, low literacy rate. Okay, sorry, higher literacy rate, illiteracy rate. Then we have other issue called the other related causative factor like the war. War is also one of the major important reasons. So wherever the countries you find in the countries or the societies where you find the wars going on, the schools are disturbed. Most of the time they are closed due to the war situation and the disaster which is occurring to the because of the war situation. So usually they have to shut down the schools, and this may be a continuous process in most of the countries, in few countries, not all countries. But this situation is also giving a way for literacy, very low literacy rate here. Okay. Now, the second issue we are going to take up is the poverty. What do we understand by poverty? So as I said, illiteracy is a relative factor for the poverty also. The causative factor which is linked up to is poverty. Okay, what is poverty? Poverty is defined as a social condition where individuals do not have financial means to meet the most basic standards of life that is acceptable by society. So here it is a condition where in the social condition, because we are living in a society, we are dealing with the societal aspect. So anything is related to the society and the people here, the group of persons who are living in a society. So it is a social condition where individuals have no financial means to meet the basic requirements of the life, which is acceptable by the society. What do we understand by this condition, which where individuals are unable to meet the basic requirements of the standards of the life here? Basic requirements, you term it as, usually we understand it as the food, shelter, and clothing. If a person's condition is such that where the person is unable to purchase, or the financial means is not sufficient enough to purchase all these basic requirements, to meet the basic requirements, the person is unable to eat 3 meals a day, at least 2 meals a day, the person is not able to wear a proper clothing, the person is unable to have a proper shelter. So then we term this condition or the situation as poverty situation. A person is unaffordable, a person is not able to afford to all these basic requirements. We are not talking about the other comforts in the life, we are talking about only the basic requirements, which is very, very important, necessary for a person to lead a life. Okay, so this is not met by the person, then we say that the person or the community or the group of persons are in the situation of, in the condition of poverty. Then what type of poverty situation do India have poverty? Yes, of course. India, usually we have poverty measures, which is totally poverty measures we have. We usually say that, how do we measure poverty? Fine. It says that we have a daily diet of, in rural areas, we have the daily diet of 2,400 kilocalories in rural areas, where 70% of people live, and where in rural areas 70% of people live, and usually 2,100 kilocalories in urban areas. If rural areas have higher calories requirement because of greater physical activity, and because usually they have to intake 2,400 calories compared to 2,100 calories persons who are living in urban areas. So a ruralite person required to be, he has to intake 2,400 calories compared to a person who is living in an urban area, and the person living in urban area has to, as a requirement, to take 2,100 kilocalories. If this is lacking with the persons in the rural and the urban areas, if the persons is not up to the mark of the calorie intake, then we say that the person or the group of family, the family members are in poverty situation. Okay. It says that usually, according to Planning Commission of India, the estimates that a monthly income of rupees 356 persons is needed to provide the required diet in rural areas for rupees 539 in urban areas. So factors such as housing, healthcare, transportation are taken into consideration in the poverty estimation. As I said, the basic requirements are the food, clothing, and shelter. Other than that, we are talking about the health care of the person, transportation. Okay, here it says that we usually call poverty as BPL situation, the BPL condition. What do we understand by BPL? Below poverty line. Okay, those who are unable to see, there is a mark here. The person who is able to afford to all these basic requirements, then we say the person is above the mark called BPL. If the person is unable to meet these requirements, we say the person is below the line of the poverty. Okay, so we say the person is in the poverty situation, below the standards of the life, below the meeting of the basic requirements, then we say BPL condition of the community or the group of persons. Now, what are the causative factors of the poverty in India? It says that there are many different variations we come across. So one particular situation you don't find in the other country. So there the poverty reasons may be something, and in India, the poverty reasons may be something. In other country, the poverty reasons may be something. But in general, we have certain basic conditions of the poverty, the general causative factors of the poverty situation. It says the climatic factor is one important causative factor for the poverty. It says that the climatic constitutes an important cause of poverty. For example, the floods and the famine, the earthquakes and the cyclone cause heavy damage to agriculture. Usually now, even if you just compare practically, if you look into the agricultural sections of the community in Indian society, most of the farmer suicides are occurring. Why? Because the farmer usually take a loan and take the debt from the loan as a debt, and then he's expending for he's totally incurring that expenditure into the agriculture. So when he's cropping, he's going with the cultivation practice here, the agriculture practice here, he is unable to get the expected amount from the expected crop. So this is just because maybe due to some famine or due to some kind of flood situation, the whole the crop may be get devastated. Okay, is it totally due to the flood, the whole crop may get spoiled here. So the government is unable to give the supportive prices to the farmers here. So then definitely the poverty situation arises in such kind of situation where a farmer is totally in debt and is unable to meet the basic requirement of the family because of no income source from the agriculture, and he is not involved in some other source of any supplementary source here, and there is no supportive system from the state government or any of the government here, then definitely he is in a poverty situation. So that the last resort of the farmer is to hang himself or go for the suicide attempt. This is one example I'm talking here. But usually the causative factor, it says that the climatic factors definitely have a great impact on the poverty situation, where it causes a much more, it is totally inclined towards the climatic factor, where this is leading to the poverty situation. For example, as I said, famine, it may be earthquake, or it may be some kind of flood situation, cyclone situation, where it really bringing heavy damage to the agriculture. Moreover, we come across in time rain and all, excessive deficient rain affecting severely, usually because if there are the countries which totally depend on the backbone of the economy is agriculture, and 70% of the population residing in the agriculture usually depend on agriculture for the main source of income level for the families and all. Definitely such kind of situation makes the country into, or the communities into, entering into the poverty situation. Then demographic factors is also one of the causative factor for the poverty. It says that demographic factors accountable for poverty in India. For example, if you take the rapid growth of population. So when you take up demographic factor, what do we understand? We usually know that China ranks first in the population growth, and India is taking the second place in population growth. So when the speedy growth of population is, we are experiencing the speedy growth of population, but are we really able to double the land? Are we really able to triple and also bring more production according to the rising population? This may not occur. Why? Because we are not that very fast with the mechanism, and we are not very fast with the technological improvement and usage in technology and science into the agriculture system. So when we are unable to meet what is called these kind of disasters in the agriculture, then how can we expect that the growing population will be met with the same equal proportion of rise in technology, rise in the agricultural production? May not be possible. So it says that when there is rapid growth of population, which is totally aggravating the poverty situation, and it is also at the says that the growth of national income of the population growth creates difficulty in the removal of poverty, but lowers per capita, and which tends to increase poverty. Usually it is a cycle here, where it says that growing population, of course, though it is an asset if you say, but when each and every person is capable enough, each and every person is able to create certain kind of sources in the for himself, for the family, then it is an asset. Otherwise, the growing population depends on the whole community or the society or the state or the government, then it becomes a situation where it cannot be handled by even the government also. So then it makes the people or the family entering into the poverty situation. Now, size of the family also has a significant bearing in the rural poverty. The larger the size if the family has, the lower is the per capita income and the lower is the standard of the living. For example, now guys, like if you take the family is depending on the agriculture and the size of the family is very big. Usually in the rural family, not now, but usually earlier, Indian situation says that it is the traditional families and the joint family structure where you come across more than at least 3 generations live together. So all the 3 generations have to be met with all these basic requirements, isn't it? So in such condition, if the family is depending on only agriculture, then definitely if there is an agriculture failure, some kind of a situation which is totally bringing a failure situation in the agriculture. There is no crop and no good harvesting and no expected production in the agriculture. Definitely the family has to face poverty situation. So this is one reason we come across. And we have also certain personal causative factors for the poverty. Lack of motivation. Lack of motivation is an important cause of rural poverty, where you find that people have to work hard or even to earn something. This is account for poverty for the rural people. Usually most of the people, they don't take up their own personal motivation. So they either, if there is lack of motivation for the person to go for, to start up, to go for any employment or to do the hardship, then definitely the person will fall into the poverty situation. Okay. Now, if lack of motivation, which is very important cause of rural poverty. There is no motivation among the rural community people, which is making them to fall into the situation called rural poverty. Okay. Then economic causes. Economic causes says that there is low agricultural productivity. Low agricultural productivity because of, even we find that despite advancements in the agricultural related technology, hence there is low agricultural productivity resulting in poverty. Why? Because farmers follow the traditional methods of cultivation. Even today in India, usually most of the farmers, they are not immediately readily accepting the technological usage into the agricultural system, in the cultivation and the farming system. This is one reason why. The reason may be because they cannot afford to. The reason may be why they are much traditional based. Okay, so because when they are traditional based, usually they go with the traditional mode of cultivation system and all. So this is not making them to bring higher production rate in the agriculture, which is one of the major important personal reason to bring poverty. And unequal distribution of land and other assets. Land and other forms of assets constitute source of income for the rural people. And when there is unequal distribution of land and other assets in the country, definitely this is more of the time you find that the small farmers in India whose holdings are very less, meager holdings, 1 acre, 2 acres, isn't it? And then we have the small farmers and also the marginal farmers who grow, whose holdings will be around 2.5 to around 5 acres only. So where holdings are less than 5 acres, and these small and the marginal farmers lack the supportive prices. So where the holdings are very small and they don't get the supportive prices from the state government and all. So this usually most of the farmers are forced to live under the rails of the poverty. So this is one situation we come across with the agricultural failure and also unequal distribution of the land situation in the rural areas. The decline in village industries. Now, usually we find that as a result of industrialization, bigger factories are coming, establishment of the bigger technologies are bigger machineries are taking place, big machines are coming, a big industrialists are planted now. But you don't have a condition where you still, the rural areas are going with the village industry, the small scale industries, cottages are totally are declining now. So other than the agriculture, they used to depend on the cottage, small domestic production system or the small scale industries now. So these are now totally gone. We feel that this is totally had shifted to the bigger industries here. So where usually you find that people who don't have the skill to work in the industries are lacking with the employment opportunity. So this is also one of the reasons you find the village industries had been forced to close down. So now you don't find any small industries in the villages which are running by the rural people. So they have to the situations made them to force the village industries, and now they are left with no employment opportunity in the village areas other than agriculture and other some small labor activities. Then, how do we measure poverty? Fine. How can we understand that, yes, this is a poverty situation? How to identify the poverty situation? How do we measure the poverty situation? Absolute poverty. There is absolute poverty where income of a person is sufficient to provide the basic necessities of life, and she is said to be absolute poverty. When income of a person is not sufficient to provide the basic necessities of life, then it is absolute poverty. If, so for example, a person is getting only 1,000 rupees per month, okay, 1,000 rupees per month, and the person is unable to give at least the basic requirements of the life, like the basic needs of the life, food, at least 2 meals a day, basic requirement called the shelter, is unable to provide a shelter to the children of the family, the person is unable to give a good clothing, at least a basic requirement, if it is not provided to the family, then the family is in absolute poverty, or the state is in absolute poverty. And then relative poverty occurs when a comparison takes place, when one particular family or a community is comparing with the other community, when a other community, actually the standards of the living or income distribution of various income groups is undertaken. A person getting 10,000 rupee, a person getting 20,000 rupee. If you compare these two families here, the income inequalities between different groups reflects a relative poverty here. I am relating myself to the other person. I feel that I have all my requirements, but still I feel that something I lack in my life. Okay, the comforts maybe I lack. I feel that I lack a comfort where the other family has. Okay, so I'm relating myself. I have everything, but I feel that I'm in poverty situation. Why? Because I don't have the other requirements which are there, the other comforts which are there with the other family. So this is usually the relative poverty. Okay, now here, measurement of the poverty, we go with Planning Commissioner of India has set up a study group in 1962, which has went with the questioning of the poverty in the country. So we come across certain, as I said, 2,400 calories which should be intaken by the ruralite person, and 2,100 calories which should be intaken by the urbanite person. But usually we don't go with all the calorie intake. In general, mass public never go with all these measurements. But usually this is where you feel that yes, I have milk, yes, I'm giving my children a cup of milk or a glass of milk, or I'm giving my children proper diet. Then you feel that you're measuring it in a way that this is I'm able to afford to all these things. If you're giving fruits to the children, or if you're giving the what is called the dry fruits, and if you're giving all the good food, then you feel that yes, all the nutrients are I'm giving all the nutritional intake to the family. So then that is what usually in general you measure. But we don't go with the calorie, but this is actually according to the set standards. This is the calorie intake which should be happen with among the ruralite person and the urbanite person. Okay, then usually it says that what are the did the government of India has taken any steps towards eradicating the poverty situation? Yes, of course. Every government, almost the world communities takes up all the measure to remove all such kind of situations in any countries here. Even India has worked out with this situation to remove and eradicate the poverty situation, and it has come across certain programs which we already started long back in the Indian system. So, for example, we have the poverty elevation programs in India, which is characterized based on the targeted rural persons and the urban areas. So for the urban areas and also the rural areas, we have come across with a program sheet here, which is targeting the poverty here, challenging the rural areas with the demographic situation, infrastructure limitations and all. We come across the wage employment program, self-employment program, food security program, social security programs, urban poverty elevation programs, and some other important elevating programs. For example, manaki 100 panidinal anedi ochindi chudandi, 100 days employment assurance scheme. Okay, so where they are in the rural areas, where they are given employment or the income for at least 100 days. They are assuring income for 100 days so that they need not migrate to the other community or to other areas in search of the job. So that at least they are, as living in their areas, they are getting the benefit out of the government schemes and they're able to feed the family. Fine, at least 100 days is okay. So that means they are removed from the poverty situation. They are about to the poverty situation. Now we have the Jawahar Samriddhi Yojana, which is restructured, streamlined and comprehensive version of the Jawahar JRY program, which started long back in 1999. And the main aim of the program was developing the rural areas. So this one particular target is developing the rural areas, which is usually providing the schools and the hospitals and the infrastructures for the schools and the hospitals. And we come across the sustained wage employment in the rural areas. Likewise, we also come across National Old Age Pension Scheme. For example, in Telangana, we have different many schemes to eradicate the poverty. For example, Old Age Pension Scheme, so they are supported with the as I think 2,000 or 3,000 they are paid. Old age 2,000 rupees, I feel so. So 2,000 rupees they are given by the state government for the old age people who have crossed 60 years, 58 years. Now they are getting 2,000 is a, see, for them that without living with a single paisa, they are getting supportive price of supportive income of 2,000 rupees. At least the basic fulfill for the old age people. They need not depend on the family here. Fine. Like national maternity benefit scheme, like we have different other programs, Annapurna scheme. So Mandegar kuda Annapurna scheme undi ikkada. So usually integrated rural development subsidy rationing system undi. This is all where you are providing for with the subsidy, the rationing and the ration to the families, where they can at least meet the basic requirement of the food. Okay, then the integrated rural development, like we have different other programs in the by the government, undertaken by the government, which is really working very perfectly, and which is clearly, I think we are now above to some extent. Even still people are still in the under poverty situation, below poverty situation. So but still we are working with all these programs in the communities. Okay, the next we have unemployment situation. Okay, we usually understand unemployment by saying that it is something we are measuring with, we measure unemployment situation of the health, which is health of the economy. It says it is health of the economy. Yes, the more number of jobs you are providing, that means the more number of standards of the life will be improvised, the more number of the people are benefited with the income level, the more number of people are able to feed the family properly, the basic requirements are provided to the families. But do we have such kind of situation in India? Because we say that demographically we are rising population, very speedy growth of population is there in India. So those many employment opportunities you may not really able to provide to the population, rising population. Then what is the situation you find in the Indian society? So that usually we go with the unemployment situation, where you come across So here, the features of the unemployment situation in India, you find that a person, usually the vast number of people in rural and urban areas, they are unable to get wages for the work they do. The farmers, artisans, petty shop owners, the small or big industrialists, taxi drivers, mechanics, etc. All these people are regarded as employees. Okay, but usually those who draw salaries are regarded as being gainfully employed. So every month, who a person who is drawing the salary is being a gainful, is in the condition called a gainful employed situation. Okay, now here we come across the materials reward such as kind or cash for the work they do. When we are putting some effort, when we are doing some hardship, when you are in return, you are getting some kind of benefit, that is through in the form of the cash or kind, then that means it says that you are in a gainful employment situation. Okay. This is about the unemployment situation. I continue this in the next class in Saturday, next week Saturday. Okay, for today, I'm stopping today at this point here. So I think we all followed what I explained today, the poverty and the illiteracy. So please go through the material, whatever it is available to you, so that we'll continue the same thing. I just review the earlier one and then we'll move on to the other topic, unemployment situation. So for today, I'm stopping at this point here. Okay. Thank you all, guys. Thank you all. Hope you all followed what I explained today.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Ardhamainda andarki?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So actually, I have to attend marriage today. So I'm leaving you 10 minutes prior before my completion of the time. Okay. Thank you all. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye.
Bye.
I have one doubt, ma'am.
Yeah. Tell me.
Ma'am, materials we have to take in university, no, ma'am?
Yeah. I think you go to university, inquire with the authorities. I think you need to go to their centers or your university to collect the material. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Fine. So we'll meet next Saturday. Thank you all.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.